Thank you. Hi, I'm Sienna Walker. I work with Hoodoo Digital. We're so happy you're all here. I want to start by introducing my co-panelist, Amy Skyling from Pluralsight.
Hi, Amy Skyling from Pluralsight. Nice to meet everybody. It's a privilege to be here tonight. So wanted to go through and just give you a quick sense of who Pluralsight is for those of you who don't know. So our mission is to advance the world's technology workforce, and we do that by helping companies and teams build better products, by developing those critical technical skills, improving processes, and gaining insights through data. So many people know us for our skills and flow products, and those are really what we focus in on. For myself, I'm the Vice President of Digital Experience, and I'm in the marketing group, and I lead a group of data and technology technology team members, which includes like everything from analysts and engineers, program managers, quality assurance, but we really oversee all of the digital experiences for all unauthenticated experiences, all the way through purchase or contact sales. And so that it would include all of our website and digital properties, as well as our full tech stack. So that's me and Pluralsight.
And a little more about me. So I am the manager of our solutions consulting team. As a team, we're responsible for translating business needs into technical implementation requirements, traditionally something like a business analyst, but we also wear a lot of hats. I've heard us referred to as product owners, project owners, just you name it. I've been called it. And Hoodoo Digital is a full service digital experience consultancy focusing on the Experience Cloud implementations for AEM sites and assets, Workfront, Analytics, and Target. As a leader in the Adobe space, we were actually acquired at the end of last year by Genpact and placed under their RightPoint brand. RightPoint is a leader in experience design solutions. They create experiences that connect people and drive meaningful outcomes for organizations, helping to create experiences that just work together with our kind of Adobe expertise and RightPoint's expertise on the customer experience. We're a powerful team that can help plan and execute any digital experience strategy. So now jumping into kind of some of the challenges that Pluralsight was facing with having a self-hosted AEM environment and what AEM as a cloud service has been able to do for them. Prior to migrating to AEM as a cloud service, Pluralsight had a self-hosted AEM instance using AWS. Between their security and DevOps teams, and Amy, feel free to check me on this, but you guys were responsible for the monitoring and maintenance of your server backups, an AWS hosted server, your error logs managed in your own Splunk instance, your CI/CD pipelines with a couple of custom integrations, and New Relic for monitoring. The teams that had those teams had to perform quarterly disaster recovery efforts and make regular configuration modifications to AWS and Cloudflare. And also when an issue would come up, they'd have to manually review thousands of lines of logs to find the root cause of those issues. I hope no one on this call is in DevOps and has had to do that, because I know from my team's feedback that is not fun. The manual process was both costly from an application and human perspective. It was pulling valuable resources from projects that were more focused on enhancing the customer experience on Pluralsight's marketing website, which leads to more conversions, more customers, things like that. And then outside of the regular cost of maintenance and system ownership, every 2 to 3 years, there was a need to do a major platform upgrade to the latest version of AEM to utilize the new enhanced features that were available on the platform and to ensure they were using the most up-to-date and secure code. This causes a disruption in larger MarTech projects that pause optimization efforts. Amy, do you want to touch on some of the benefits you guys have gotten since the migration?
Yeah, you bet. Thanks, Sienna. So I think to echo what Sienna was saying, we run a really lean team. So as I mentioned, I'm in marketing, and we have engineers sitting on our team, but we really try to be good partners with our IT org. And the things that Sienna just described sort of made them grumpy. So it was really helpful for us to move. We were very encouraged to be able to do that. Just to give a little bit of context, we've got about 15 million visitors that come to our unique visitors that come to our site each year. And about 10% of our total revenue is from digital transactions that go through my team. And so in addition to that, we've got 120 AEM authors across the business and around the world. And so really being able to scale and support, we had just outgrown that on-prem. So Sienna mentioned this contractor budget for these upgrades. It was a big, because we have such a lean team, it was a pretty significant lift, and we really couldn't do it without outside contractors. So that auto upgrade feature has been something that is really, really helpful. The security savings are also, the security savings have been real to us thus far. The AEM Cloud service does have really extensive security feature set. And that alone saves us between like 500 and 700 hours a year on my little team, as well as some of those IT cloud engineers. So that piece of being more efficient has been huge. It also helped us be a little more scalable for our multi-site management. So we actually have 5 domains that we're responsible for. And the AEM Cloud service helped us be a lot more efficient and be able to address things such as the compaction, our DVS, which is our internal APIs that go from our product onto the marketing website, and re-indexing activities. We were able to do those, accelerate how quickly we could do those as a team. And then our site's a lot faster. So we've seen about a 10% decrease in how long it takes for our pages to load. And so again, we run a lot of promotions for the B2C side of our business. We have localized sites, and all of those things together have made this investment really start to pay off for us.
So jumping over into kind of the how it's done, and Vicki, I appreciate the questions you've been dropping in here, because this is one of the things I'm most passionate about in my job in general. And, perhaps to my detriment, if anyone on my team could tell you the number of times I say, process, they would just roll their eyes painfully and probably walk away. But it is a very, very important piece of this, because this process of discovery, of planning, of making sure that we know what needs to be deployed before there's any, pen to paper or code to GitHub or what have you is the most important part. And so walking through that process, we usually have about a month or so up front where we're working with all of the different teams who use the website, who are dependent on the website, who pull data from the website, who talk to customers of the website, sometimes customers themselves. We really make sure that no stone is left unturned in understanding, how does your website function today? How does it need to function when we launch? What are the existing pain points and things like that when we're getting into it? The goal, typically, if you're doing a one-to-one migration, that being there's no redesign element or anything like that, the goal should be no one outside of the project team realized there was a site deployment. So it's a combination of understanding what features are on your site, what your content authors need, who your content authors are, who your end customers are, and how they're interacting with it, to make sure that we pull together a really comprehensive test plan. One of the questions that was brought up in the chat was, is there a combination of any like reprogramming or retooling of your tools with a process like this? For Pluralsight, we did identify a couple of known pain points from just the operational side of things for content authors. So we were able to, while doing this upgrade, Also look for some opportunities for operational enhancements. We put a lot of guardrails around user governance. We enhanced how the DAM is being used to really optimize things like page load time, making sure that one asset can be used in multiple places instead of the same asset being loaded 18 times if it's used 18 times on the site. And so while our goal was, make sure the day that we go live, no one knows we did anything, there was a lot of work that also went into how can we make people's lives better. Pluralsight was a unique example in that, like Amy said, they had 120 content authors. And we had to make sure that all of those user groups were really cleaned up and that the permissions that, the day we said, okay, start authoring, they're able to log in and do their day-to-day job. So that discovery process is really critical in talking to digital analysts and marketers, making sure that they're getting the same data, making sure campaigns are still running. So there are a lot of things that go into it that aren't apparent to the naked eye. And so it's really asking those questions. It's trying to poke holes in the plan. It's every single week reviewing our plan with a different team and making sure that they're on board to make sure this is successful. We also take a blue-green deployment process, and that's pretty standard with any AEM launch, but this is essentially, we have a production ready site running on a production server so that the day of launch, it's not a matter of code deployment or anything like that. It's just cutting over your DNS to the new system. For Pluralsight, our very anticlimactic launch, because it was just nothing changed on the front end. We hit a little Easter egg in the footer of the site. We added a period to the end of the copyright so that we could tell, am I looking at the site on the 6.5 version or the cloud version? So we made sure that we had some way to differentiate when things weren't always completely different. Other things to consider when you're looking at, the timeline and things like that. With Pluralsight, they were on version 6.5 in AEM, so it wasn't a major jump to get up to the cloud version. We have done platform migrations from, version 6.3, 6.1. The farther back you are in versioning, I think the more lift it's going to be to do your migration. And that's, again, where that discovery process comes into play, understanding how you're using the current platform and what needs to happen to make sure your site's still successful when you get to the cloud. I'll touch on, there was a question in chat, just what are the KPIs to measure success? I can touch on those a bit, but Amy, if you want to go into more detail, but things that we were looking at were just the very tactical, things like page speed, general site performance, things like that. We also just reviewed analytics before and after to make sure we didn't see a major drop off in users. That was certainly not expected because we didn't change the actual user experience of the site. And, again, other things are the security measures. One of the features in AEM as a cloud service is there's like a mandated code coverage minimum. And so we were able to enhance the general security around just the code that's on the site by implementing some code coverage tests and unit tests in the code base. And those were some of the high level ones. But again, Amy, I'll hand it over to you if you want to talk about the just impact on your business.
Yeah, you bet. I did, just to echo some of the things that Sienna said, there's definitely that extra attention to the discovery, the detailed project plan. And then we also had very clear acceptance criteria for all of our integrated systems. As you can imagine, we consume a ton of data from both of our products, and being able to have that move seamlessly was a really big issue for us. So I think that as we started looking at it, we did, just for a little bit of context, we did a very minimal amount of customization, and that was intentional primarily because this was the first step in a larger digital transformation effort. So we used migrating to the cloud as the first step. And now we're basically finishing the rest of that, and that will roll out over the summer and then into the fall. And so it was intentional. I think one of the reasons that we were able to sort of sell this was it really was mitigating risk with the detailed project plan, and we knew exactly what it was supposed to look like Sienna said. We had to put a period in the bottom of the term so that we knew that you were actually looking at the new cloud version. So I think those were some of the key pieces. As far as KPIs, we really were focused on really minimizing that content freeze for the AEM authors. We really rely heavily. We've spent a lot of time building trust and training and wanted to make that as least painful as possible. Another was no downtime. We wanted to make sure that it was, to Sienna's point, that it was a true blue-green switch and it went off seamlessly. And then hoping that, again, that we were going to see that increase in the site speed, which has come to fruition. I think probably the coolest thing, at least in my experience, has been that about 2 days afterwards, I met with the CTO. We just happened to be in a similar meeting, and he pulled me aside and said, "Hey, so like I heard you guys went live, like we're in the cloud, like that. I just can't believe it. Like, I can't believe that you pulled that off and nothing happened, and it was amazing." And it wasn't necessarily a criticism of my team, but that he just was like, I just have never seen this done before. So that was something that obviously the engineers on my team, having kudos from our CTO, was major, and something that was really, really important to the overall team health and engagement.
Yeah, I think it's when it's that one-to-one migration, the least exciting, the less exciting the launch, the more successful the project. Unfortunately, it's one of those, if no one really knew it happened, then we did a good job.
Yeah. And I do see that there's a question around selling this internally. It was a lot. It was a big ask. I will say that what I anchored on were those things that I talked about before that, the ROI between the contractor budget. The security piece was really big for us. That was just because we're a SaaS company. That was something that was a really big issue. I think that there was also that efficiency, that engineering time, and then our site speed. We've had some problems with it. And so those were the key anchors. And then behind that, I was able to put, dollar amount and metric. And if we didn't do this, then this many engineers, and we're not going to be able to get through this. So those were the kind of key pillars that I used to build that business case. And then I started with getting the CMO on board. And then I did have side meetings with the CIO and the CTO to make sure that we were all aligned as to why this was a critical first step in our digital transformation. It looks like there's also, what are the main use cases for AEM? Yes, we use AEM for all of our marketing websites, which would include all of our paid media landing pages. We also use the AEM DAM, so that's our repository for all of our digital assets across the organization. And then we also have an e-commerce component. And so we use AEM to feed into sort of that cart or commerce experience.
Yeah, and just expanding a little on the DAM, you also use it for asset distribution as well. And it's assets outside of just what's used on the site, but it's a true enterprise corporate library. DAM is not used for the courses, no.
Yeah, that's a
separate application.
They live in our actual product, and then we consume that through our digital vascular system. We consume that into, so AEM consumes that.